How did a sugary carbonated beverage become one of the most powerful global brands in history? And at what environmental and human cost? The red and white Coca-Cola logo is recognized by 94% of the world's population, a level of brand recognition unmatched by any other product. But this ubiquity masks a complex, often troubling corporate history that spans 3 centuries. From its origins as a cocaine-infused patent medicine to its modern status as a global empire, Coca-Cola has pioneered marketing techniques that transformed how corporations sell products worldwide. But behind this marketing success lies a pattern of resource exploitation, environmental damage, and labor controversies that the company has worked tirelessly to keep out of the public eye. This is the story of how one of the world's most beloved brands has managed to separate what you feel about Coca-Cola from what Coca-Cola actually does. What if I told you that drinking a bottle of Coca-Cola requires 35 liters of water to produce, leaving entire villages without access to clean drinking water? Or that the company that sells you happiness has been linked to the murder of union workers who simply asked for fair wages? For over a century, Coca-Cola has masterfully distracted us with brilliant marketing, while building an empire through questionable tactics that most consumers never see. From its cocaine-laced origins to its modern-day environmental destruction, this is the untold story of how one of the world's most powerful corporations became a global giant by any means necessary. The world's most beloved beverage is built on a foundation of lies, exploitation, and environmental destruction. Coca-Cola spends billions on advertising every year, crafting an image of happiness and togetherness, while carefully hiding a much darker reality. Behind those cheerful polar bears and nostalgic Christmas commercials lies a company accused of depleting water resources from drought-stricken communities, contaminating farmland with toxic waste, and even being connected to violence against workers. This is the story of how Coca-Cola really built its empire, and why that refreshing taste comes at a devastating cost to people and our planet. Look at the Coca-Cola bottle in your refrigerator right now. Do you actually know what you're supporting when you buy it? Most people don't. They see the familiar red label and think of refreshment, celebrations, and good times with friends. What they don't see is the company that drains local water supplies in India while farmers struggle through droughts. They don't see the toxic waste contaminating farmland. They don't hear about the union leaders who have disappeared after standing up to Coca-Cola bottling plants in Latin America. Today, we're exposing the disturbing reality that Coca-Cola has spent billions to keep hidden from you, because you deserve to know the true cost of what's in your glass. Coca-Cola spends billions on advertising every year, but they'll never once try to sell you on their actual product. Instead, they sell an idea: happiness, togetherness, good times. But some say this is just a distraction from a much darker truth. Behind the cheerful commercials lies a company facing serious accusations of causing water depletion, environmental destruction, and even violence against workers. Today, we'll explore the hidden history of Coca-Cola that the company doesn't want you to know. From its deceptive origins to its exploitation of resources and people across the globe. This isn't the story you'll see in their heartwarming commercials. Chapter 1: The Deceptive Origins. Let's go back to the late 19th century. America was experiencing a strange moment in its medical history. People were growing suspicious of conventional doctors and turning instead to all kinds of questionable patent medicines. Opportunistic entrepreneurs jumped on this trend, creating potions and tonics that claimed miraculous healing properties. The truth, most were dangerous cocktails of unregulated chemicals with zero proven benefits. But in this wild environment of medical deception, one particular concoction stood out: a French wine mixed with cocaine called Vin Mariani. This bizarre drink became wildly popular, claiming to cure everything from headaches to terminal illness if you just drink enough of it daily. A Civil War veteran named John Pemberton became obsessed with this drink. Having survived terrible battle wounds that left him with a morphine addiction, Pemberton believed this wine-cocaine mixture was helping him recover. It certainly made him feel better, not because it had miraculous healing properties, but because, well, it contained wine and cocaine. Being a pharmacist himself, Pemberton decided to create his own version, launching French wine Coca in 1884. His timing couldn't have been worse, though. Just when his wine-based product was gaining popularity, prohibition laws started spreading across America, forcing him to remove the alcohol component. The resulting non-alcoholic drink tasted terrible, so Pemberton added massive amounts of sugar and carbonated water to mask the bitterness. This altered formula would eventually become Coca-Cola. Now, Pemberton wasn't intentionally creating a scam product. He genuinely believed in its medicinal value. But he needed a new name for his alcohol-free version. His bookkeeper Frank Robinson suggested Coca-Cola, a name that directly referenced its two key ingredients, the coca leaf, containing cocaine, and the cola nut, containing caffeine. Despite what the company claims today, Coca-Cola absolutely contained cocaine in its early formulation, a fact that's thoroughly documented by historians. It wasn't until 1929 that they finally found a way to remove the cocaine while still using coca leaves for flavoring. But in those early years, sales were sluggish. Pemberton continued marketing it as a medicinal tonic, claiming it could cure headaches and stomach problems. The product didn't stand out among countless similar miracle cures on the market. Meanwhile, Pemberton's health deteriorated. His pain worsened, his addiction deepened, and by 1888, he was dead. The sad irony? He never lived to see his creation become one of the world's most profitable and ubiquitous products. He had no idea that his medicinal failure would transform into a global empire. Chapter 2. Building an empire through manipulation. Shortly before his death, Pemberton sold Coca-Cola Company for a mere $2,300 to Asa Candler, a ruthlessly ambitious businessman. Candler immediately began acquiring all outstanding shares through questionable means, with later investigations revealing forged signatures on some documents. Conveniently, Candler had all early company records destroyed, erasing any trace of his potentially dubious takeover. By the 1890, with full control established but sales still sluggish, Candler unleashed what would become one of history's most aggressive marketing campaigns. He saturated public spaces with Coca-Cola's distinctive red and white logo, plastering it across buildings, barns, billboards, and anything that wouldn't move. Towns became visual monuments to the brand. His marketing genius truly emerged with his innovative coupon strategy, sending free Coca-Cola coupons directly to pharmacies' best customers. The concept was brilliantly simple. Give people a free taste of this addictive concoction, and they'd be hooked for life. Candler's most strategic move was repositioning Coca-Cola entirely. Rather than continuing to market it as medicine, an industry facing increasing scrutiny, he rebranded it as a delicious everyday beverage everyone could enjoy. This dramatically expanded his potential customer base from the sick to the entire population. As sales soared, Candler poured profits back into pioneering advertising techniques still used today. Celebrity endorsements, the modern image of Santa Claus, always with a Coke in hand, and the Coca-Cola girls, who sexualized the product in mainstream advertising. The company even established a statistical department to analyze traffic patterns and optimized advertisement placement. Ironically, Candler's biggest mistake came from underestimating bottling. When two lawyers proposed bottling Coca-Cola for wider distribution, he thought the idea ridiculous, but signed away bottling rights for just $1. This casual decision became a legendary business blunder when bottled Coca-Cola exploded in popularity. The contract had no time limit and no provisions for price increases, forcing Coca-Cola to supply syrup at perpetually low prices despite rising costs. By the early 1900s, Coca-Cola's success had nothing to do with its product being superior. Countless similar soft drinks existed. Their triumph came purely from manipulative marketing. Every year they spent more on advertising, and every year sales increased proportionally. However, Coca-Cola's most dramatic expansion would come from an unexpected source: global war. Chapter 3. Profiting from conflict. When World War II erupted, sugar rationing was implemented across America to support the war effort, but Coca-Cola made an outrageous request. They asked to be exempted from these rations, claiming their sugary drink was essential to military operations and soldier morale. Even more outrageous, the government agreed. Coca-Cola spent huge sums lobbying officials and funding biased studies, claiming their product boosted energy and morale among troops. They even managed to get a Coca-Cola executive appointed to the sugar rationing board, who promptly exempted their company while competitors struggled with limited supplies. Coca-Cola's president publicly pledged, "We will ensure every man in uniform gets a bottle of Coca-Cola for 5 cents, wherever he is, and whatever it costs our company." Selling at this price meant losing money on each bottle. But this seemingly generous gesture was actually brilliant strategy. It created powerful emotional connections between Coca-Cola and patriotism, generating enormous public goodwill. The company launched new advertisements, showing soldiers drinking Coke on the front lines. But behind this patriotic facade, Coca-Cola had negotiated a secret deal with the US government to receive funding for building bottling plants overseas near military bases. Under the guise of boosting troop morale, American taxpayers effectively subsidized Coca-Cola's global expansion. During the war, they established 64 bottling plants around the world, with the personnel installing these facilities classified as essential as those repairing military equipment. As soldiers accessed Coca-Cola worldwide, they shared it with locals, creating new customers across continents. The US military essentially became Coca-Cola's global sales force. While most companies suffered during the war, Coca-Cola expanded at an unprecedented rate. Today, there are only 2 countries on Earth where Coca-Cola isn't officially sold: North Korea and Cuba. But there's a deeply disturbing aspect to this heartwarming tale of American soldiers carrying Coca-Cola across the globe. While Coca-Cola was wrapping itself in the American flag at home, the company was simultaneously supplying Nazi Germany with Coca-Cola products. Yes, while American Coke ads featured US soldiers, the company's German operations were actively distancing themselves from their American origins and even featuring their logo alongside swastikas. Coca-Cola was served at Hitler Youth rallies and advertised in Nazi publications. They were literally profiting from both sides of the war. As supply lines to Germany were eventually cut off, the head of Coca-Cola's German operations, Max Keith, devised an alternative drink made from apple fiber and other food byproducts. This drink would later be named Fanta. When the war ended, all profits from Fanta sales went straight to Coca-Cola headquarters, and Keith received a promotion. By 1955, Coca-Cola was marketing Fanta globally, carefully crafting its history to exclude its Nazi origins. Coca-Cola's war strategy enabled its rapid global expansion, but this expansion would have devastating environmental consequences that continue to this day. Chapter 4. Depleting Earth's Resources. Coca-Cola claims their greatest secret is their formula, supposedly locked in a high-secretary vault. In reality, you can find the formula online. Their actual secret has always been their marketing, distribution power, and ruthless acquisition of resources. Take their cradle-to-grave strategy, targeting children. When a teacher suggested adding healthier options to school vending machines, she discovered it was impossible. The school had an exclusive contract with Coca-Cola. For $300,000, roughly $1 per student, Coca-Cola dictated what beverages children could access. These contracts were widespread, with some even including financial incentives for schools that sold more Coke products. Cash-strapped schools essentially became motivated to push sugary drinks on children. This is just one tactic Coca-Cola employs to circumvent regulations on marketing to children. They produce toys featuring their logo, but claim they're for adults. They've cemented Santa Claus holding Coke in children's minds through Christmas advertisements. They even purchased Columbia Pictures in 1982 to enable product placement in family films, another clever bypass of regulations. By the 1980s, evidence of Coca-Cola's negative health impacts mounted alarmingly. Research linked their products to obesity, diabetes, and various health problems. One study found children consuming a single additional sugary drink daily had a 60% higher chance of becoming overweight. Another showed babies exposed to high sugar intake could develop lifelong dependencies. Coca-Cola's response? They borrowed the tobacco industry's playbook, cast doubt on the science, they quietly funded studies questioning links between soft drinks and health problems, while conveniently omitting who paid for this research. Simultaneously, they spent millions lobbying against sugar taxes and stronger dietary guidelines, reportedly offering campaign contributions to politicians in exchange for favorable treatment. Their environmental record is equally troubling. In India, Coca-Cola faced accusations of contaminating groundwater with industrial waste. Though they admitted to problems, independent testing later found toxic sludge from their plants had contaminated land, killed animals, and destroyed farmers' livelihoods. The Center for Science and Environment in New Delhi found pesticides in both Coca-Cola and Pepsi at levels far exceeding European safety standards. Most concerning is their impact on global water resources. Coca-Cola operates bottling plants in drought-prone regions, with officials blaming them for dramatic declines in water availability. In Mexico, when a former Coca-Cola Mexico executive became president, he granted the company 27 water concessions. Critics claim these concessions allowed Coca-Cola to exploit water resources belonging to indigenous communities. As one village resident described it, "There used to be plenty of water here. Now there's scarcity. They pay nothing and take our water away." It takes approximately 3 liters of water to produce just 1 liter of Coca-Cola, with some estimates much higher when considering their entire supply chain. As the world's largest sugar buyer, the company's resource demands are staggering. The most disturbing allegations came in 2003 with the Stop Killer Coke campaign, which connected the company to murdered union members at Coca-Cola bottling plants in Colombia. Since 1989, numerous unionized workers at these facilities have been killed, with many more receiving death threats. In Guatemala, workers allegedly faced violence after joining unions, with some earning just $15 for 15-hour shifts. The deeper you investigate Coca-Cola's history, the more their wholesome image disintegrates. In parts of Latin America, they've earned a chilling nickname, the Sparkle of Death. Chapter 5. The greatest marketing disaster and triumph throughout their history. Coca-Cola had multiple opportunities to purchase their main competitor, Pepsi. In 1933, they could have acquired the entire Pepsi business for just $50,000, but they declined. Instead, Coca-Cola sued Pepsi for using the word cola in their name, claiming trademark infringement. This backfired when Pepsi countersued, accusing Coca-Cola of anti-competitive practices. The courts ruled cola was a generic term anyone could use. This initiated a decades-long marketing war between the two companies. At one point, both started cutting prices, but they soon realized this was hurting both companies' profits. Whether through explicit agreement or tacit understanding, they both stopped competing on price and returned to competing through advertising. In 1975, Pepsi launched the Pepsi Challenge, a simple but brilliant marketing campaign where people tasted unlabeled cups of Coca-Cola and Pepsi, then chose their preference. The results consistently showed slightly more people preferred Pepsi's taste. Pepsi aggressively featured these results in their advertising. Coca-Cola publicly dismissed these findings but conducted their own internal tests which confirmed Pepsi's slight advantage in blind taste tests. Meanwhile, Coca-Cola was gradually losing market share. Despite enormous marketing campaigns and promotions, Coca-Cola's market position declined slightly each year while Pepsi's grew. It appeared that consumers genuinely preferred Pepsi's taste. This led Coca-Cola to an extraordinary secret project: developing a new formula. After extensive testing, they created a sweeter formulation that consistently outperformed both original Coca-Cola and Pepsi in blind taste tests. The data was clear. People preferred the new taste. So, in 1985, just before Coca-Cola's 100th anniversary, they made the stunning announcement. They were changing their century-old formula. New Coke was born, and chaos immediately ensued. Thousands of angry phone calls and letters flooded Coca-Cola headquarters daily. Some people desperately pleaded for the return of the original formula. Others expressed outright fury that Coca-Cola had dared change something they considered sacred. Executives expected the outcry would fade once people actually tried the new product, but the opposition only intensified. Media outlets were filled with outraged reports. When new Coke advertisements appeared on stadium screens, crowds booed loudly. Hating new Coke became a cultural phenomenon. The lesson became clear. Taste had never been the real issue. Thanks to a century of masterful marketing, Coca-Cola had become more than a beverage. It was a cultural institution, an old friend, a piece of American identity. For many people, changing Coca-Cola felt like a personal betrayal. As one angry letter writer put it, changing Coke is like making the grass purple. Another complained, "You've taken away my childhood." After months of unrelenting protests, Coca-Cola finally conceded defeat and announced the return of the original formula as Coca-Cola Classic. The public reaction was astonishing. Anger instantly transformed into celebration. People wrote emotional thank you letters, expressing how much the original formula meant to them. One Coca-Cola marketer remarked, "You would have thought we'd invented a cure for cancer." Sales immediately skyrocketed. Businessweek called New Coke the marketing blunder of the decade, but some analysts suspected the entire fiasco had been a deliberate publicity stunt designed to remind consumers how much they loved Coca-Cola. If true, it would rank among history's most brilliant marketing strategies, but all evidence suggests this wasn't the case. New Coke genuinely was a catastrophic misjudgment. Coca-Cola executive truly believed people would prefer the new formula. Even after reintroducing the original version, they kept New Coke on the market, convinced people would eventually come to prefer it. They were wrong again. New Coke sales never improved, and it was eventually discontinued entirely. Yet paradoxically, this massive failure became one of Coca-Cola's greatest triumphs. The New Coke disaster unintentionally made consumers realize how emotionally attached they were to the original product. It strengthened brand loyalty beyond anything their marketing campaigns could have achieved. If you've made it this far, you're now part of the informed minority who understands what's really behind those cheerful Coca-Cola commercials. This isn't just about a sugary drink. It's about how corporations can shape our perceptions while hiding troubling realities. Did this video open your eyes? Smash that like button to help this video reach more people who deserve to know the truth. Subscribe to our channel for more videos that shape our world while hiding their darker sides. Share this with anyone you know who drinks Coke daily. They deserve to understand what's behind each sip. Leave a comment below with which powerful company you think we should investigate next. Until next time, stay informed and remember, the most powerful tool against corporate manipulation is knowledge.